Hi, I'm Katie. We're here at the Deadline Studio with Anu Valia and Kirby of We Strangers. Anu, do you want to kick us off with just a bit of a summary of what the film is about?
So the film stars Ray, played by Kirby, who she lives in Gary, Indiana, and she has a pretty lovely family unit. She lives with her mom and she is very close with her best friend, takes care of her best friend's kids with her. And she's basically living this life as working as a commercial cleaner. And as she's working, she is approached by an Indian therapist whose office she's cleaning, and he invites her to clean his home. And she takes the job because she's like, I need the money, like, that's fine. So she takes the job and she starts working for his family. He's married to a white woman, and then she starts working for his mistress, another white family. And I mentioned race in it because it's important in the movie. And so she basically starts working for these families, and as she does, she tells this one little lie that she can speak to the dead, that she's psychic, and they are too quick to believe her. And it kind of starts her down this path of manipulating them and to try to gain power in these spaces that she normally does not have power. And it's really an exploration of what assimilating and code switching does to a person, how it can make you very to be a chameleon gives you power. Even if you don't feel it, you do have this skill set that other people don't have, but it takes from you because you're spending all this time reading other people and making yourself palatable to others. But what does it take from you? Is like the question the film has. And I mean, it's also about a lot of other things. Like I think what's so beautiful about what Kirby does with the role is like she's an observer. Like she is constantly observing others and learning about the lives of these other people, but she's not passive at all. Like she is playing a role that seems like you should be passive and she's just not. And I think that's a real testament to watching Kirby on screen. It's yeah.
Kirby, can you talk a bit about what drew you to the role?
Yeah. What drew me to the role was seeing a character that most people overlook and seeing a character that is most of the time sort of a tertiary character in most people's lives. Like your cleaner is unfortunately often not someone that a lot of people think about. I think in being a cleaner, you can move very silently and effortlessly, which is both a power, but also it is perhaps even like a point of like a point of mass shame in the way we treat people who are there to sort of make our lives more comfortable. We almost often ignore them, overlook them, in the worst cases treat them poorly. And seeing that character centralized in a way where she was the perhaps she was a tertiary character in other people's lives, but she's the main character of this story and of her own life, which we all are. Um, really it felt to me really empowering to play this role, and also I felt a great sort of honor and the burden of truth, because in playing this, I think obviously most people will go like, I've seen cleaners, I know what cleaners do, but actually you really don't know exactly what they do. You don't know the way they move, the way they're treated, the things like that, and that was huge for me. I worked with a woman called Roberta who has her own commercial cleaning company in Indiana, in Gary, and the sort of surrounding areas, and she's an incredibly generous woman who Anu spoke with years ago and has stayed attached to this project. And I say that because most of the time you think of the people who are attached as actors or the film crew or things like that, but there are so many other people that are attached to this film that helped us, that met us, that were with us and supported us in Gary. And I worked with Roberta, and I got such an incredible insight um, into her world and into Ray, into this character that I could never have had I shown up, learned the lines, and went for it. So being able to do that, and Anu facilitating that because she met Roberta and set the whole thing up, was incredible. So this just for me was like a role. I think it's the best thing I've done so far, and I hope to keep working with Anu because perhaps I'll keep making the best things that I've done. I'll keep topping it.
She really I mean, you've said this before, and I think it was really beautiful to watch that it was an honor to play somebody who cleans people's homes.
Yes.
It's a very honorable profession.
It's a very honorable profession. It's very, they say, you know, the saying, cleanliness is next to godliness, and it feels very holy. Like when I would clean a place and really clean it, you leave feeling refreshed yourself. You feel like anew because you have not feeling, you don't feel like anew.
You feel like me
You feel
every time.
anew. Because you have left the place better than you found it. It's an incredible feeling that we don't give enough power to. And it's actually an incredible feeling doing it, because I went into places and cleaned and I wasn't even looked at. No one recognized. I didn't get recognized once, and I cleaned for quite a long time in multiple different places, and not once was I recognized. And that was because, for the most part, a lot of places like we clean, you don't get looked at. You are sort of, you're given your orders and then people go about their lives. There were some places where you did go in and it was sort of like a family, like being a cleaner, you were part of the unit. And that felt really good. But there's also different relationships to the places that you clean. And that was, it's a whole, I mean, there's like the ins and outs of what seems to be such a simple job, and the social sort of landmines, the socio-political landmines of it, I think are so incredible. And to be able to play it and to touch upon it, not in a way that tells you what's going on, but just explores an idea and lets you take from it, is incredible. I mean, I sounds crazy, but I could talk about cleaning forever. I honestly, and we have. I could talk about what it does to you and what it makes you feel and what it makes you think and the way you're treated, what it makes you feel like. And I think it's actually an incredible opportunity as an actor to feel that way, because most of the time we're very catered to. I'm so sorry. I don't even remember what question you asked me. I'm just talking about cleaning, but we are catered to in a way that is actually unhealthy. And then to go in and work as a cleaner and it be such a humbling but joyful experience being with this team of women, because it is obviously largely a job that women do. It felt incredible, and actually I enjoyed it so much that it was like, I think Anu knows, when it came to filming, it was sort of like I missed cleaning.
She really, when she started filming and couldn't, actually, you came to a fitting. You went and cleaned
in the morning. And
you
then
had like a cleaning session. She did a job, and then she came to the fitting and was kind of like, I want to go back.
Yeah.
I mean,
I really connected with the women I worked with as well. We really shared something.
What she touched upon briefly that I just want to speak to is like the importance of community. And I think in certain American circles, not all American life, but in certain American circles, there is such isolation that their community has been completely like ripped apart in this idea of like, take care of yourself and there will be salvation in that. And I just find that to be, I'm not trying to make an issue film because I think nobody will hear that. I find that to be very sad. And people are, you can see how people feel lonely. And like what we talked about and what Ray has is community. And even though your community can be like, can annoy you, can need too much from you, can be inconvenient, that is, we were meant to be in community. That is how you get lifted up. You need to lean on people constantly. You need to like, I remember when I was a kid, my dad, a friend called me and I didn't want to answer the phone because I was like busy doing something. And my dad got really mad at me and he said like, when your friend needs you, you have to show up for them because there'll be a time you need them and it won't be convenient and you need to show up and they'll show up for you.
I wanted to ask Anu, at the beginning when Ray first enters Dr. Patel's home, the vibes are off. Like there's something wrong there, but you don't quite know what direction the film is going to take, and it almost feels like it's going to lean horror and it doesn't. But can you talk about like subverting those expectations there of what is going to happen and with Ray and just the direction that this film is going to take?
It's interesting because like for how much I want to talk to people about the movie and I want to hear what other people have to say, I also have this other part of me that is very much like what David Lynch says, the film is the thing. Like it moves at such a specific tone and pace that it is just the thing. Like my words are going to change the feeling of if anybody's like listening to me, it's going to change what should just exist. But what I can say is that I was really trying to make a movie that feels the way Ray feels. So the movie is not meant to be a first person singular film. Like it's not verite following Ray, but we're watching this woman. And I want you to feel whatever you're seeing. Ideally, whatever feeling you're feeling, it's what Ray is feeling.
Yeah.
And that's like the goal of the movie. Is the best I can say.
One of the things Anu reminded me constantly, I think we spoke about so much, was you would always say, we are with Ray, like we are with you. That's, that's who we are, we're with. And I think that makes it really beautiful because you present something again without opinion.
Yeah.
And you're just with someone. And I think that's like, there's that beauty in ambiguity.
Yeah, I think so. That like, the actors, and Kirby especially, they're just being as truthful as they can be. And then it's my job to capture that and try to create a feeling for the audience where, in real life, you don't know what's going to happen. And if you are uncomfortable in a space where you don't know where something's going to happen, you might not be like horror scared for your life. You're just a little like, vibes are off, like interesting. And then what I love about Ray is she goes, well, she does something I wish I could do, which I don't do, which is like, I think I'm just going to like, take charge here. And like I find that to be very fun to watch. And so and the humor, sort of Ray's humor, I don't know. The film is the thing. I don't know. It's just
No, I love that. I wanted to just end by asking, the setting of Gary, Indiana, I think is very specific in some ways. And I want to ask about the specificity of that and why you would choose to set it in Gary, Indiana, but also how it, like you were just speaking about, is fairly universal in some of its themes.
I'm glad you asked because the setting, even though the film feels quite insular and we're inside a lot of homes, it's set in this area that I grew up in and around. And so, like Ray is from Gary. It's a town I have so much love for. I'm from Northwest Indiana. And I also think the demographics and the social and class stratification in cities or in neighborhoods right outside major cities is very similar in the US. So Gary is about 30 miles outside of Chicago and has a really interesting story that's very rooted in race and work in the steel industry. And when the steel industry started to die, a lot of people left that town. And I think it's seen on camera, or anytime people talk about it, I feel like in the media that it's kind of just like a one brush stroke about people just really disregard this town. And it's so vibrant and diverse and beautiful and has so many. It's just a wonderful, wonderful town. And I grew up right outside Gary, and I don't even think I really got to see it until like the past 5 years of talking and researching and working on the film. And then I just noticed, I was like, man, it's such a beautiful town. And then you cross over and you go right into like another town, and like the community is so different. There's just such a stark contrast. I just wanted to explore that. I just wanted to put a camera there and go, isn't this interesting? So
I think also it's really funny when I tell people I spent the top of the year when we were filming in Gary, or when I told them I was going or that I'd been, I would get a very similar attitude, which was like, ooh, like it was never really a positive. It wasn't oh wow, it was because of, and I knew very little about Gary, Indiana before I went there, but what I found was a place that had some of the deepest rooted communities that I've ever seen. People that would commune regularly, even if that was at the bar or at certain like family-owned restaurants and things like that. And they knew each other. People know their neighbors. They know people by name. They know their families. They're there for each other. I don't think I have ever, I'm from London, I'm from a major city, and then you go to LA, and I think you often find yourself in places where people are trying to create a sense of community, very, very, they're working very hard to create a sense of community, but it's not natural. Mm-hmm. And when I was in Gary, there is a natural sense of community, of we know you. I mean, Anu went to a bar that we then ended up filming in, but can I say that you were essentially kicked out of the bar?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
were
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like, they were like, not because they were kind of just like, we don't know you.
Yeah, they were like,
they
yeah,
really
it's
know
yeah.
everyone. And that actually creates an incredible sense of safety and security that I think part of the reason why we are so scared of each other in a lot of other places is because we just don't know each other. And we are designed, there is a design to pit us against one another. Whereas if you know your neighbor, and this supersedes race. I mean, there is obviously a class element, but the bar that Anu went to, there are people that are like, you know, there are the white owners who there are black people that are like, that's my cousin, that's my brother. That's like, they are really a community.
Yeah.
And us being outside, it took a while for us to actually be accepted into the community there. And then once we were, there are people that Anu and I speak regularly with, and text and call. And I went to people's homes, like, they'd never met me before and invited me for cookouts and all of that sort of stuff. And I don't think you would experience that anywhere else. And that to me was the beauty of Gary. I have nothing but fond memories. And I actually feel I get a little offended when people sort of turn their nose up when they talk about Gary, Indiana, because I had such a beautiful experience of that place, as someone who was outside, who was welcomed in. So not from there, but really feel very connected to that place more than probably any other place that I've filmed.
Well, I love that so much. Thank you so much for being here and
Thank
for this
you.
conversation. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.